You all look pretty worried there.
And I was also the longest-serving MP in the...
All right. Hey,
Okay,
we're going to leave it here, guys, because we're going live to David Seymour, the ACT Party leader, who is joining us from his headquarters in Auckland. David, it's Ryan here. Great to have you on the show. How are you feeling about tonight's result and the prospect of a national ACT government?
Well, thank you, Ryan. If you wonder why I've got a finger in one ear, it's not that I'm trying to block anything out. It's just it makes it easier to hear you in the other ear. Look, we're feeling very good, but this result is close. It's still changing as the night goes on. What I do know is that Brooke van Velden is the new MP for Tamaki. We're so proud of her success. ACT has posted a record result in the history of the party. We're so proud that more people than ever have chosen real change, but that's where it stops, because being elected, I've never said, is an achievement in its own right. Being elected is an opportunity to do good, and we will be working very hard to repay the trust that people have put in ACT at this election. Whatever happens, we'll be doing our best to bring that change about.
David, can I ask you very quickly, have you spoken to Christopher Luxon yet, and what have you talked about?
Yeah, look, we've been talking...
All right, we're going to have to go from David Seymour, I'm afraid, to Christopher Hipkins. Chris Hipkins, who's the Labour Party leader and is now speaking to his supporters in Hutt Valley.
Thank you. E ngā mana e ngā reo, raurangatira mā, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you, everybody, so much for being here tonight, and thank you for everything that you have done over these last 6 weeks. We have run the biggest ground campaign, knocking on doors and calling people on phones that we have ever run. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Unfortunately, the results tonight show that that wasn't enough. Earlier this evening, I called Christopher Luxon to congratulate him on National's results. While it's MMP and the numbers are likely to move around a little bit before the final count, as it stands, Labour is not in a position to form another government. The result tonight is not one that any of us wanted. But I want you to be proud of what we achieved over the last 6 years. Because despite governing through some of the biggest challenges our country has ever faced, we kept New Zealand moving forward and we protected those who needed help the most. We raised 77,000 kids out of poverty despite a global economic downturn. We reduced our emissions 3 years in a row, finally bending the curve on climate change. We built 13,000 new public homes, more than any government since the 1950s. We kept Kiwis in work with unemployment below 4% for the last 2 years, and we moved record numbers of people into work. One that's very near and dear to me, we introduced the Food in Schools program to ensure that kids could learn on a full stomach. We rebuilt and then increased police numbers. We increased the numbers of teachers, nurses and doctors, and we increased their pay as well. We sought to bring people together, to unite, not divide. We moved towards better honouring of the treaty, and I am incredibly proud of that. It hasn't been easy. I honestly think the gods ran out of curveballs to throw at us. Terrorist attacks, volcanoes, cyclones and floods, and of course the COVID-19 global pandemic and the global cost of living crisis that followed. Despite these huge forces against us, through it all, we made a difference. We saved lives and recorded the lowest number of COVID deaths in the developed world. Now that is a real outcome. We kept Kiwis in work while unemployment spiked around the world, and we grew our economy faster than most. We lived our values, and I believe New Zealand is a better place for that. So I want you to stay proud of that. We put people first. We cared. We refused to leave people behind. Because that is what we do, it is what the Labour Party does. My friend and former Prime Minister, the late Mike Moore, remarked that the highest honour a democracy can afford a citizen in a free nation is to be elected as a Member of Parliament. To those who have served but are not returning to Parliament, particularly to my Labour Party colleagues, thank you for the service you have offered to the people of New Zealand. I know you gave it your all and you deserved a better outcome than this one. To all of those who have been elected tonight, I offer you my warmest congratulations. To the people of the Rimutaka electorate, I offer my sincere thank yous. You have consistently placed your trust in me, and it continues to be an honour to represent you. To the Rimutaka Labour campaign team, thank you for waving the flag, though your candidate was seldom there in this election. Becoming Prime Minister earlier this year was the honour of my life. Following on from my good friend and colleague Jacinda, it was not going to be an easy task. I did know when I took on this job that it was going to be an uphill battle. No government has replaced a Prime Minister in an election year and carried on to win. And we've had the added challenges of flooding, a cyclone and a cost of living crisis to contend with. I'm proud of the progressive platform we put forward in this campaign, one that supports everyone, not just the well-off. I gave it my all to turn the tide of history, but alas, that was not enough. In the coming days, we will ensure that there is a smooth transition to a new government. Until that new administration is sworn in, the current government will operate in a caretaker mode, and the ordinary day-to-day business of government will continue. And then the Labour Party will take some time to reflect and to refresh. We now have a new and important role in opposition, to hold the government to account and to fight for those who stand to lose from their proposed cuts. I can promise that we will keep fighting for working people because that is our history and our future. When the tide comes in big, it almost invariably goes out big as well. That is the nature of politics. But the Labour Party is still here. We're not going anywhere, and we will get up again like we have many times before. Thank you, New Zealand, for the honour and the opportunity that you have given us to serve and to move New Zealand forward. And finally, some special thanks to all of you, our Labour team, our Labour whānau, our volunteers and supporters up and down New Zealand. Thank you so much for everything you have done. To Jill Day and the team at Labour Party HQ, thank you for all of the support that you have given me and all of our MPs and candidates during this campaign. Finally, to my family, for everything that you have done for me. To my mum and dad, for all the love that you have given me and for all of the gaps that you have plugged over the last 9 months, I really want to say thank you to you. There is someone else special that I want to thank tonight, someone that most of you won't know, and that is my partner, Tony. Being Prime Minister is not the only special thing that has happened for me this year, and I want to thank you for being with me every step of the way over the last few months as we have gone through this campaign. And finally, to my kids, who have sacrificed more than anyone will ever know, I know that they're going to be happy that they're going to get to spend a bit more time with their dad now. Kia kaha, everybody. Thank you once again for the enormous privilege of serving as your Prime Minister. Thank you to our Labour team for everything that you have done. We have a new job ahead now to regroup and to rebuild and to come back fighting stronger than ever. Thanks very much.
Okay, Christopher Hipkins there. He's been Prime Minister for 9 months, but he won't be a day longer, conceding the 2023 election there and getting very emotional about it too. It is a tough night for him, Jenna.
Yeah, it is a tough night for him. Poor guy. Feel sorry for him.
Yeah, hard to keep it together when you're talking about your family and how much sacrifice, because families do sacrifice so much in politics, right? And I spent the last week with him on the campaign, and he genuinely had some kind of feeling that he was going to do much better than this. He threw everything that he had at that last week. He was slow off the mark early in the campaign, but he was Zumba dancing. He was driving go-karts everywhere. The guy was just incredible in that last week.
Did you think he was going to resign in that speech? He said, I gave it my all, it's time for a refresh and it's time to renew.
That's right. And then he said, we will get up again.
Yes.
Which didn't include that very crucial word, I.
Yeah.
So I think over the next couple of days, probably, obviously not going to do it tonight, over the next couple of days, Chris Hipkins will just take some time and reflect on what to do. But as you guys were talking about before, what does Labour do now in terms of leadership? What they should do is just keep them on for a while, steady the ship, Don't make any sudden movements, because death spirals happen when you start changing leaders like this.
Yeah. See who's in and who's out. See who's in and who's out. There's still too many close calls to make on some electorates. See what the final vote tally is. As you say, take soundings, take a couple of days and see what happens. But these two know more than anyone about you win some, you lose some on election nights.
Well, look, I was in caucus in 2014 when we got smashed with David Cunliffe. It was pretty brutal. But Labor will gather in a caucus. They'll talk about the result. They'll talk about where to from here. But I agree with you. I think Chris Hipkins should stay as Prime Minister, let the dust settle, see where things lie, and then make a decision. I was so pleased he didn't resign at the time. I think that would have been a really bad move and destabilising for Labor, actually, at a point where they don't need that. They need a little bit of continuity, like I say, to get their house in order and see where to.
Absolutely.
They might have won tonight, but his popularity hasn't completely dived either.
It's the same as Luxon's.
Yeah, it's been there all the way through.
And if
it's not like
anything-
he's absolutely hated. I would be going, God, don't even just take a small breath. Next year's a good time if you really want to start thinking about it, you know.
Yeah. If anything, we've seen a whole new side to him tonight too. We've seen him be emotional in front of the cameras, in front of the country. We've heard him talk about his partner for the first time, Tony, who none of us in the public knew about beforehand. As he was talking, I just want to bring your attention to the bottom left-hand side of the screen. The National Party's numbers are dropping as Chris Hipkins is leaving the venue here. They are currently on 50 seats with a percentage of 39.7%. And that has been dropping pretty consistently throughout the last sort of 45 minutes that we have been on air.
But they were up as 52 at one point.
Yeah, there is some consolation though there, Paula. Let's talk about the other the minor parties, the small parties.
Let's talk about that. We're also at nearly 83% of the vote counted. You know, Stuart mentioned earlier that some of those bigger booths from South Auckland would come in. We saw this in 2005, actually, some of those changes. Yeah. But the reason we're not seeing a major seat drop is that some of that vote is now also coming through for Top at 2%. Loyal, that Loyal New Zealand, whatever New Zealand 1.1. Wow. 0. Was that not kind?
Cool, no,
that wasn't nice.
Harsh, but
it wasn't nice, but
I mean, you muttered it, but
they didn't register their candidates.
Okay.
But explain to us what that means.
You did ask me to be nicer.
Because those votes get redistributed, don't they?
They do. So they get redistributed proportionately to your vote. So actually,
when they don't make it into
Parliament. Yes, when they don't make it in. So at the moment, you're looking at least 2, 3, 4% that will be redistributed. 40% of that will go to national.
Yeah.
So do you think that means they gain a seat back?
Well, it just reinforces whatever has been voted on by everybody else is reinforced by these wasted votes, right?
That's right.
Because they don't make the 5% threshold, they don't get an electorate seat. So instead of those votes just sitting there for a party on their own, they get dished out in proportion to those parties how much those parties that are past the threshold actually get.
Yeah, so National's likely to get 40% of 4%.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That's right.
Which is another seat.
Yeah.
I would hate to be making these calculations.
Yeah, and look, and national.
That's why they do it for us.
My brother's good with the numbers, much better than I am.
And the National Act is still sitting on 62. Even if there isn't special votes to change, then that will potentially come down one. But still, they're sitting in the prime seat. The other thing I just wanted to pick up on, which Paddy talked about earlier, and we kind of had to move on, is if I was the now new Prime Minister, Chris Luxon, I would give the Leader of ACT, David Seymour, the Deputy Prime Minister, and then you keep your Minister of Finance, and that's what I do. It gives them the props. Yes. They got over the line.
Yes.
Okay. Right, we're going to go make a call on the wall with Paddy Gow.
Yeah, and this is actually a proper call. It's not a Jules Wilcox, just chuck one out. It's a Newshub. No, it's a good kind of call, bro. It's a good kind of call. But you didn't have anything like this. Bang! We've got a winner in Wanganui. Look at this. Woo! Carl Bates has taken Wanganui. This was a Labor seat. They have flipped it. They've flipped it by quite a considerable margin as well. And Mr. Bates will be heading down to Castlecliff Beach, no doubt, tomorrow for a picnic, because look at that. And this is what we're talking about, these big wins that are happening out there, a nearly 5,000 vote victory out there with 97% of the vote out already done.
This stuff as well.
Chris Luxon,
because you can't pretend the treaty doesn't exist. This is the problem National's got. You can't wish the treaty away.
There's Max Key.
Yeah, so he's making...
It's Junkie.
There's Brona.
Does Max Key want a career in politics? I think he does.
Do you know that Max Key actually told me once that he did want to become Prime Minister one day? When I was speaking to him about something completely different, and I didn't take him seriously at the time, but, you know.
Yeah.
Here is your 42nd Prime Minister of New Zealand. This is the leader of the National Party. He will soon be sworn in the next couple of weeks, I'm sure, after doing a deal with maybe with the ACT Party and New Zealand First, maybe with just the ACT Party. But ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at the next Prime Minister of New Zealand, Christopher Luxon.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, team. Thank you so much. And thank you, New Zealand, because from all over your country, this great country, you have reached for hope and you have voted for change. And I am immensely proud to say that on the numbers tonight, National will be in a position to lead the next government. And my pledge to you is that our government will deliver for every New Zealander. Because we will rebuild the economy and deliver tax relief. We will bring down the cost of living. We will restore law and order. We will deliver better healthcare. And we will educate our children so that they can grow up to live the lives that they dream of. And that's what you voted for, and that's what we will deliver. Now, earlier this evening, I took a call from Labour leader Chris Hipkins conceding the election. And I thanked him for the call, and I thanked him for serving New Zealand as Prime Minister. And I wished him well. And I wished him well because it's obviously a tough night for Labour, and I want to acknowledge that. I also spoke to ACT leader David Seymour, and I congratulated him on his own win in Epsom and ACT's result. And there are many votes still to be counted, but on current numbers, it looks like National and ACT will be in a position to form the next government. And I also congratulate Winston Peters on New Zealand's first return to Parliament, and I appreciate his comments this evening that he is willing to help where needed. And as a result of voters' choices, and with special votes still to come, it looks like National will on Monday be welcoming many, many new MPs into our caucus. And although this campaign was long and negative, New Zealanders listened to National. But more importantly, National listened to New Zealanders. And we listened to the people needing interest rates to come down so they can pay their mortgages. And we listened to the people that need tax relief to help pay for the grocery bills. And we listen to the retailers who want to know that the justice system is putting offenders' interests first. And we also listen to the patients waiting 11 hours at the emergency department who know that the front line needs support. And tonight you have given us the mandate to take New Zealand forward. And in all our conversations with you, we heard a description of New Zealand that can be so much better than it is. And we know it, and you voted for it, and together we will make this an even better country. Now, turning around the country may take time. It's a big job and we have to get it right, and it's going to be hard work. But the government, community groups, iwi and businesses will together get the job done, because that's how I want to lead this country, together for every single New Zealander. And one night about midway through the election campaign, I was on a late flight home to Auckland, and I was sitting looking out that plane window, and I looked out at the dark land below. And there were huge black spaces, except where at times the darkness was broken by a single isolated light. And it was probably a farmhouse, and sometimes there were small groups of lights in little settlements and occasionally towns or a city. And I looked out and I thought about the responsibility of leading this country on behalf of every New Zealander, wherever they are, whoever they are, and whatever their life circumstances. And regardless of ethnicity, and whether our families arrived generations ago or are new migrants, we all share an interest in living in a safe, stable country that celebrates fairness and wants the very best for every New Zealander. And we also share an interest in having a strong economy that is providing opportunities. Because the promise of New Zealand is quite simply that if you work hard in the best country on planet Earth, you should be able to get ahead. And it's what unites us that matters most to me. And that will always be the ethos of a government that I lead. Now, before I finish, I do want to express my tremendous gratitude to so many people who have made tonight's outcome possible. And first, of course, are you, the voters. To all of you who voted for National, thank you. We won't let you down. And to all of those who didn't vote for National, we won't let you down either. And to the people of Botany who returned me as your MP, can I say thank you? Because it is my great privilege to represent you in Parliament, and the place that I spent so much of my childhood. It is the best electorate in New Zealand. And to the National Party, from President Sylvia Wood and right through to every volunteer and supporter in every electorate, thank you. Because your commitment to National did not waver, and tonight's outcome is yours to celebrate too. And I want to thank my fantastic Deputy Nicola Willis, our incredible hard-working campaign chair, Chris Bishop, and all of our caucus and candidates for their relentless campaigning over the past 6 weeks. You have given it your all, and we have splashed blue across the country. Thank you. And I want to thank our great campaign director, Joe DeJoux, and all of our campaign team. Because they have left no stone unturned, no press release unwritten, no social media meme unposted, and no tick untopped in the effort to reach as many Kiwis as possible with National's message. And I also want to thank my amazing, amazing Chief of Staff, Cameron Burrows, and National's incredible team. Because you have had weeks without weekends and nights without sleep, but tonight it's all been worth it. And before I thank my own family, I want to thank the children, the spouses and the partners of every MP, of every candidate, and of every member of our campaign team and our staff. Because all of you have sacrificed a great deal to support us, and that support is greatly acknowledged and greatly appreciated. And And there have been many late nights and long absences, and I genuinely hope that tonight's victory is some repayment for your sacrifices. But thank you. And finally, to Amanda and William and Olivia. Amanda, I have to say, while being Prime Minister, elected Prime Minister is a great honour. I have always said marrying you will be my greatest achievement. I love you, and I am so grateful that I get to do life with you each and every day. And I want to say to William and Olivia, thank you so much for all of your support and encouragement right from the moment that I said I wanted to enter politics and public service. So thank you, team. I love you lots. And tomorrow morning, New Zealanders are going to wake up to not only a new day, but the promise of a new government and a new direction. And this great country of ours has so much potential, and our new government will help realise it. And I have to tell you, I am humbled by tonight's support, but I am so energised by it too. And I cannot wait to get stuck in and to get to work. Because New Zealanders have chosen change, and our new government will deliver it, and we will get this country back on track. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
There he goes, the next Prime Minister of New Zealand, Christopher Luxon, leader of the National Party, with his victory speech. What do we make of that, team?
I've got very important news, just in case anyone couldn't quite get the chance.
Oh, yes. Well,
we were struggling a little bit here, weren't we? Okay, so we've got back on track.
Oh, that is what it was. Yes.
And I believe there was also a chant of Amanda there, which was kind of...
Well, that was former chant leader Paula Bennett, who chants are very, very important too.
She just sits on the bus.
I
suffered through it.
If I was there, I'd be chanting now.
Yeah. I thought the speech, though, that line, Kiwis have reached for hope and voted for change, will go down as one of the greatest lines in this modern politics. He absolutely owned it with that sentiment that in this campaign, Christopher Luxon has felt like the other side has been dishing up fare, and they have. And actually both sides did. But near the end of the campaign, Chris Luxon decided that he was going to reach for the hope path.
And you know what Kiwis said to Hipkins and said to Labor? That's ugly, we don't like it, go away.
And it was personal, at some level as well. You know, it was a Trish.
And you sort of feel tonight that New Zealand has breathed a bit of a collective sigh of relief. I think there was a lot of nervousness heading into tonight that we could still get quite a different result. And a lot of people had expressed to me that, they were really wanting to see this change, and in particular the message that Chris Luxon had tonight about how he wants to work with the community, with business, with iwi, and work in partnership, and he's very much signalled that. He made the statement to business a few weeks ago that he wanted them to act as a partner to government and not like children as the relationship had been. So I think for businesses around the country, they will be relieved to see this change tonight.
I don't know, he didn't do that well in Mood of the Boardroom, actually. But the thing is let's be honest, let's give credit when credit's due. This is a guy that peaked at the right time. If you had heard him on Mike Hosking or any or your shows 8 months ago, this is not a guy who you thought would take National to victory.
He stepped up, didn't he? When the
really
campaigning began, he was a different man to the one that we see now. Okay,
I've got to say though, we've seen ACT drop a seat, so that puts National and ACT at 61 seats.
Okay, that is fascinating. We're going to come back to
Prime Minister Christopher Luxon. Congratulations, Christopher. How are you feeling?
Oh, look, great day for our team. We've worked so incredibly hard over the last 2 years, and I'm just so proud of all our volunteers and our supporters and our campaign officials and campaign team and candidates and MPs and party officials. This is a great team sport, politics, and I said at the very beginning when I became the leader, we go up and down as a team, and we've done that incredibly well. But I'm excited for the days ahead.
You put an olive branch out to Winston tonight. Why did you do that?
Well, look, I just appreciated his remarks this evening, and I just wanted to acknowledge that New Zealanders voted for change across this country, and so while on tonight's numbers it looks like we can do it with National Enact, I also wanted to acknowledge Peter's remarks about being prepared to help if needed, and I appreciated that.
What's your strategy here for negotiating and timeframes? Are you going to, given that it is sort of close, are you going to wait till November 25th to that by-election before you start maybe needing to talk to Winston? How long is this thing going to go on?
Well, look, we'll work all that out tomorrow, and the reality is we certainly won't be doing any negotiations through the media. We'll do that out of respect with the parties involved. But really what this is about tonight is that New Zealanders have voted for change, and I just want to tell everyone that we have a fantastic country, a great country, and we can be so much better than we have been, and we have got so much potential in this country of ours, and I want people to know, whether you voted for us or not, that we are going to deliver for all New Zealanders, that we need to come together as a country, and we now need to go to work and make this a place that every Kiwi can flourish in, and so that's the work ahead of us. That's why I came to politics, almost 3 years ago, and that's why my team's here as well. So we're really excited about getting to work and going forward as a country together.
Have you spoken to Winston Peters at all?
No, I haven't. My team have, through the course of today, but I certainly spoke to David Seymour and congratulated him on his great set of results as well. And I think, David and I will work incredibly constructively together. That we've done that in the past, our parties. David and I know each other well from being neighbours for 4 years, and we've got good alignment about wanting to lift the economy and law and order and
totally.
Education
There's
and
a
health.
lot
So I think it's pretty exciting.
A lot that you guys agree on. Christopher, you mentioned that your team had been in touch with Winston today. Who from your team, and talk about what?
Oh, look, not getting into any of that. It's just we'll talk about we're going to have a strategy to work with the parties and do a negotiation and do what we need to do. But right now,
can you tell us?
It's important we take the country forward.
Can you give the public watching tonight some insight into your thinking? You're coming in as the next Prime Minister. Are you going to try and actually work with both ACT and New Zealand First, regardless of whether you need New Zealand First?
Well, look, again, what I'd say to you tonight, New Zealand has voted for change. On the numbers that we've got tonight, National Enact can do it in a simple two-party coalition arrangement in government. And, that's been our preference, and that's the way we'll go going forward. But I just did want to acknowledge Winston Peters and thank him for his remarks and offer of help as well, if needed. But, look, really what this is about is setting up a country as we go forward in some pretty tough times to make sure that we deal with the problems that we've got, we maximise the opportunities ahead of us, and we start to realise the great potential in this great country of ours.
A lot of talk about the tax cuts before the election. Are you committing tonight to implementing those tax cuts in full as outlined on your party's website? Otherwise, you'll resign?
Absolutely. We said we'd deliver tax relief for low and middle income New Zealanders. It's important they get a break as they navigate the cost of living. But, really this has been about change. We've had a great set of support across the country over the last few months, and I want New Zealanders to know we're going to go to work and deliver for them. They want results, and they need results to improve their daily lives.
Mr. Luxon, Jenna Lynch here. Congratulations for starters. I just want to pick up on what Ryan asked you before and get a clearer answer on that. Will you call Winston Peters even if you don't need him?
Well, look, tonight we've got the results that say that we can do it with National Enact, and that's our leading, that's our assumption going forward. I'm just acknowledging that, Winston Peters and New Zealand First are back in Parliament. They are also, people have voted for change across the country, and I appreciated his offer of help if needed tonight as well, and that's all I was acknowledging. But we go forward. David Seymour and I will get to work very quickly in trying to work through all the terms of our arrangements, and we'll do that in a very constructive, mature and professional way.
How quickly did you realise that the night was going your way? When did you bank it?
Well, I have to say, we felt really good going into the campaign. I appreciate there were lots of pundits and lots of commentators and people with their own views about what we were doing right or wrong, or and lots of commentary. I haven't listened to that right from when I became the leader, frankly, because if you go back and read a lot of it's wrong. and we could feel when we're out and about in the communities, and I've done a lot of that for the last year, that people felt we were going in the wrong direction. They want change, and that's what we came to deliver, and that's what we're going to do. We've got a mandate for change. We've got a very good plan. We should have great hope that this country's got some great days ahead of it, and now we're going to go to work and get that done.
Christopher, can you give us a bit of an insight into that phone call that was made from Chris Hipkins to you earlier this evening? What did he have to say?
Yeah, look, I really appreciated the call, and I just wanted to thank Chris for his service to the country and for being a Prime Minister. And, you know, that's not an easy job, and I appreciate we have very different ways of doing that job and different approaches to taking the country forward, but I wanted to acknowledge and thank him for his public service and to wish him and his family well for the future.
Hey Chris, just one last one from me, and then we've got a fun one from Paula Bennett coming your way. Stay tuned for that. But there was a lot of talk, a lot of negativity about you on this campaign. The Labour Party, that you copped a lot of flack in the press. Do you feel like you were hard done by on this campaign?
Look, it didn't really matter what people said about me because, you know, it was a negative campaign, sadly. And my point for the last year has been just to get out of bed every morning and focus on the mission and purpose as to why I came to politics, what we're here to do as a team. I'm proud of the team that we've rebuilt with the National Party in such a short period of time. I'm proud of the way we held the government to account last year. And I'm proud of the policies that we put together. So, frankly, I don't really care too much about what people in the media say about me. I just need to get on and do my job and lead. And that's what I'm here to do, is to give leadership to the country and to our team and to take our great country forward. And that's what I've been focused on.
Hi, it's Paula. I'm so excited, and especially for you, but also for all of those volunteers, so many of whom I know. Now, you've talked a lot about change. I want to make sure that it will still be all right for me to call you Lux.
You can call me anything, you know. Paula's awesome. So, yeah, you know, I love you lots. So, no, really proud of you too. And, yeah, really proud of you.
Hey, go well. Thanks so much.
Thank you, team. Have a great night. Take care.
That is your new Prime Minister, Christopher Luxon.
Lux has had a bit of good luck, hasn't he?
Lux has had a good luck.
Hey, we're going to head now. We've got Isabel Ewing, our reporter. She's going to speak to David Seymour, who's going to be having some long conversations, I believe, with Christopher Luxon very soon.
Yes, hey Sam, I do have David just here, probably getting a few messages coming through tonight. How are you feeling, David?
Oh, look, fantastic. I mean, we've had a record number of people vote for ACT and ask us to deliver real change. Now we're humbled by the need to repay that trust, and that's what we'll be working hard to do over the next 3 years.
And how early in the night did you see things were coming your way?
Look, obviously all night there's been ups and downs, and as different parts of the country and different votes are counted, and that's actually going to continue for another 2 weeks, because remember, if you're a Democrat you think every vote counts, and people who cast special votes, their votes count too, and they won't be counted for another couple of weeks.
What were some of the downs of the evening?
Oh, there's bits where we were lower, but then there were bits where we were higher, so, you know.
There's been a lot of talk about Winston Peters being kingmaker. It doesn't look like that will be the case. How much of a relief is that for you?
Well, look, I mean, first of all, it may still happen. Like I say, not every vote is being counted. But I think it's also, you know, something I've been really clear about throughout the campaign is that New Zealand has some really big problems. It's going to take a tight, focused group to fix them. And Winston Peters' track record is that he's generally made it harder for governments to solve problems. So, you know, we'll overcome that if needed. But I, you know, obviously hope that we can do that preferred option of an ACT national government.
So how likely is it, do you think, that potentially you will have to work with Winston Peters?
Oh, look, I can't anticipate what the voters will say in those last few votes to come in, but there's still votes to be processed, and we respect that, and we'll see how they come through.
And what is your message to everybody out there who's come through and voted for ACT and brought this result tonight?
Thank you for trusting us with lending us your vote for 3 years. Our job is now to work double time with our new caucus of MPs to make sure that we repay that trust. And we understand a lot of people voted for us because they're facing really big challenges, and we've got to prove we can help them overcome this.
One final question. Why didn't you arrive on a boat this evening?
Well, the weather forecast was bad, so I thought we might...
It looked all right to me.
It looked... No, the forecast was bad. The day was beautiful, so that's a real bummer. But, you know, blame the weather forecasters.
David Seymour, Thank you so much, guys. Back to you.
All good.
Okay, Isabel Ewing there chatting to David Seymour. All right, team, what are we thinking? I would just like to point out you did get a commitment from Christopher Luxon there that the tax cuts are definitely going ahead. He actually said absolutely.
Yeah, or
tax
I will
cuts are
resign.
happening.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Hey, just David
Well,
Seymour.
he should. He promised, right?
He did promise beforehand, so you can't just turn around. David Seymour, that's an incredible thing. 9.1%. I know it's not where we thought they would get to, but 9.1% up from 7.6% at the 2020 election. But get this, between 2002 and 2020, that party never got above 3.5%. So
it was just little old David Seymour.
And
Was
do you
in
remember
Parliament with his caucus of
great
one.
line on that? He said, "I've managed to take ACT out of the ICU and put it in recovery." and wow, has he done that? And also the job that he's done in the last 3 years to hold together a caucus of absolutely new MPs. Everyone was watching that to go, something will go terribly wrong. And he has done a phenomenal job. And through this campaign, the most talked about person on the street was David Seymour from the
Up until
and
the
right.
last few weeks.
Yes.
I agree
And then
with
it
you.
became Winston.
But he's rebranded, he's gone yellow to pink. Who would have thought that would have worked? Richard Prebble came out and said the party's lost its mojo, but nothing seemed to get through. He's done very well, credit where credit's due.
Look, you've got to bring
The wheels are falling off.
Yeah.
With you, Jenna.
Sorry, I've got to bring Joyce in there. She's just got that highbrow cerebral that I don't really have. So if I just get a chance, I wanted to do a major shout out to my mate James Meager, who has won in Rangitata, because he has won that by over 9,500 votes, which is taken from Labour, which is just absolutely stunning. And young Māori lawyer coming in, he's worked for me for years, so I'm completely biased, but he ran a bloody good campaign. And so, with all respect, I'd just love to give him a shout out. And to my Angie, who's in Te Ata she's in for a rough ride though, because I think anything under 400 votes for a blue needs to think about special votes and what that actually means. So, and Brock, baby.
What a powerhouse.
One last thing, I mean, Hipkins mentioned it, there's a whole lot of people who put a whole lot of time, effort and energy into this who are now no longer MPs.
And their staff lose their jobs.
Staff lose their jobs.
Yeah,
it's rough.
Their staff lose their jobs.
Stuart Nash, Paula Bennett, Trish Sherson, thank you so much for being on our panel tonight. We're going to have to say goodbye to you now and bring our other panellists back in, but do stick around. We're going to go to a break and Laser Kiwi is going to be back afterwards. You guys have been absolutely incredible. We've really enjoyed your analysis and all of your comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bring back Linda.
Where is Linda?
So.
Okay, so...
Okay, here we go. Now, what are we doing? Are we hatching or
I don't know.
We never know what Linda's going to do.
Okay,
She's got a mind of her own.
This one might be somebody on the way out.
Here we go. Now, we're getting rid of some.
That's angry Linda. That's angry Linda. It's Michael Woodhouse.
Oh, it's Michael Woodhouse. Right, okay. So
Now, Woody was going either way, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He threw a tanty because he didn't get a high enough
Can
list
I move
ranking.
this away from me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go now to Lloyd Burr. He's at National Party HQ and he is going to be speaking to Amanda Luxon. Kia ora, Lloyd.
Kia ora team. Yeah, we've got Amanda here. Amanda is, the First Lady-elect, essentially. How does that feel?
Oh, look, I think it's amazing to get to this point. It's been, a long journey and so much energy's gone into it. So it is really exciting to be at this point, but also exciting about what we can do moving forward. So.
And your husband's been on the campaign trail for, there was the 6 weeks of the campaign, then before that he did the round the country tour as well. And I was about to say, are you looking forward to having him back? But you're probably not going to have him back.
Well, it's a misnomer because I never lost him. So we're an incredibly tight unit. So it doesn't really matter where we are. Nothing gets in between us as a couple. So we take all those opportunities we can to be together and we share everything. So I'm really supportive of him wanting to really achieve what he wants to, and it's a privilege to be able to be by his side while he does that. Yeah.
And your life's going to change quite a bit. You're going to have security following you around all the time. You've got Premier House to move into in Wellington. Have you got your head around that yet?
Yeah, no, I haven't thought that far yet. It's step by step by step. So there's things for another day. So
Awesome. Well, you've got a big night ahead of you. Go and celebrate. Thank you very much for having a chat with us.
Lovely, thanks.
Cheers. That is Amanda Luxon, the new First Lady of the country.
Thank you so much, Lloyd. I think you're right. Life is going to change a lot for the Luxons, isn't it? And yeah, they've got an 8th house that they can go and live in now. Oh my God!
Maybe our premier house will finally get a do up because it's in dire need of it.
I want to know who their marriage guidance counsellor is, because clearly they've got a really good marriage.
They've got an amazing
I want some tips. Give us some tips.
No.
Hey team, we're going to be wrapping up shortly. I'm just keen to hear some final thoughts from you all. Marnie, what's your takeaway from tonight?
You know, for me, the Māori seat's always the most interesting, and it is really indicative of how Māori vote. There's this massive, I guess, kind of appetite for mana motuhake, and we're seeing that in this vote. You know, Tamaki Makaurau Te Tai Tokiro still can't call them. They are leaning in Labour's favour, but still very tight. But Rawiri and Debbie have smashed their seats. However, watching National and ACT, and we mentioned before, Jenna, it is a bit scary. It is a bit scary for Māori, what we are looking down the barrel of, and that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about whether or not that devolution will happen. You know, partnering and talking about iwi as businesses from Luxon's perspective is not the true vision of mana motuhake for Māori and Aotearoa.
Okay, good thoughts. Josie, you want to come in on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Labour, and I say this as somebody who's still a Labour person, you know, people didn't vote for National because Labour wasn't left-wing enough. For God's sake, don't make the mistake you did last time of thinking that you need to be more left-wing. And the problem that the left has got here is delivery. A little less inspiration, a little more perspiration.
Yep, I'm ready to go.
It's the same problem all over the world, actually. And so that's what they've got to focus on when they look at why it is they lost. It wasn't God's fault, wasn't hurricanes, wasn't COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think the left has lost much of its DNA. I think the other thing is this is going to be a really interesting term in government. You've got a lot of people in opposition who will be gunning for National, and in particular ACT, and the influence that ACT can bring to the negotiation and then into government is going to be fascinating over the next 3 years. The other thing I'd say is the left the world over, as you say, has got some issues. I mean, look at what's happened in Australia with the yes/no vote. Massive failure in Australia. There's lots of questions in the world around left-wing parties at the moment. They've got to find their retrace their identity.
I hadn't caught up with that, so it's a no.
Bad no.
Right.
Not
Gosh, oh wow, that's
Stuck
huge
that
news.
in there at the 11th hour. The clock has just struck midnight.
It has.
So we're going to go to Paddy Gower for last time.
Here we go.
One last suck of the sab. Paddy.
Yeah, and I do just want to say, actually, we are in Paddy's house, and in case anybody's wondering, it is Paddy with a Y. It is not Paddy with an I. Okay, now, just getting down to business in here. Let's have a look with 97% of the vote counted in a 121-seat parliament. This is really important, people. This is how the parliament will most likely look now. We've got so many numbers in. 50 seats to the National Party, and then the ACT Party get 11 seats. So that is a 1-seat majority.